Okay, let's roll. You got 3 packets in front of you. Put this one to the side, okay? Put it to the side. That's in the second video. This is a guide, okay? This was a tough test for some of you last time. Quadratic functions. When we go to graph, it's a quadratic function if we have x to the second, which we do. Those make a parabola. Might be this way, might be the other way, but they make parabolas. So we need 3 coordinates. Both of these are going to have 3 coordinates. I'm changing the way I'm explaining that bottom one. Okay, is this an ABC standard form or is it an AHK vertex form? It's ABC because there's no parentheses. A is x squared, B is x, C is a constant. That's standard form for anybody who is interested. That's what the name of it is. So to find that middle x, which is the most important point, we apply opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So it's going to be positive 6 and then 2 times 3. 6 divided by 6, and that equals 1. So 1 is your vertex x. 1 to the right, 1 to the left, and you plug them into the calculator to get your y outputs. Or you can use order of operations, but that's going to take forever. It's not time efficient. 9. Don't clear it. Click up and just go over the 2's with 1's. 6. Click up. The 0 one should be obvious. It just takes out the x terms and gives me 9. So 2, 9. Forward 2. 9's all the way at the top. 1, 6. Forward 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 0, 9 to the top. It's right side up. That's going to be that case if a is positive. Number 2, that ain't ABC. That's AHK. I'm going to simplify the way I explain that. Make 3 coordinates. That's called vertex form. You don't need to list the form, but that's what it's called because the vertex is very easy to find. The vertex is just in the middle of the x. It's just the opposite of what the h is. The opposite of what the h is. So the h is positive 3. It's negative 3. Remember how h affects the x. It takes it opposite. Okay, opposite effect. Then you can just go negative 2, negative 4. Now some of you are wondering what's with that k right there. We're about to find that out. So same thing, negative 3 parentheses, x plus 3. Well, it's going to be negative 2 plus 3. Raised to the second power plus 2. I got negative 1. Click up and replace your negative 2 with negative 3. Oh, it's 2. The reason I have k there is because, yeah. Okay, and then negative 4. Negative 1. But you can do it the same way you're doing this. Opposite of b divided by 2 times a on standard. Opposite of the h on vertex. So I go back 2, down 1. Back 3, up 2. And then back 4, down 1. It's upside down, and that's that case because your a is a negative. Okay? So in the range it would be less than or equal to. Up there it would be greater than or equal to, but you don't need to list that. Okay, that's graphing. Next pages tell you how to solve the various equations. AB quadratic, AC quadratic, ABC quadratic, and we're also going to see one with an AHK. Nothing we haven't went over before, but let's go ahead and start. 2x to the second power plus 10x equals 10. A is x squared, b is x. So it's an AB quadratic. 0 doesn't get a label. Never label 0. So it's just a and b in the house here. You make sure you're equal to 0, which you are. Then you just factor out the GCF, and you have your F1 and F2. 2 and 10 are both in the second row. This right here, this 10, that has an x. The a is positive, so it's positive 2. Whether that's positive or negative is based off the a. Okay. Then divide by 2x. The x's will cancel there, and it's going to be 1x plus 5. Then this expression, since it has an x, serves as one of my f factors, f1, f2. 2x times 1x plus 5 equals 0. We are untimesing them. Opposite of multiply is to factor. when you're talking about expressions. Factor is like a form of dividing, 0 and negative 5. Okay, let's keep it rolling. 4x second minus 3 equals 45. That's A, that's a C, that's a C. So A's and C's. We don't factor with A's and C's. You don't get it equal to 0 either. You want A's on one side, C's on the other. So your A is already where you want it. Okay. Then move your C's together on the opposite side, 48. Now you're going to apply square roots, but you have to divide by 4 first. You can't square root until you've divided by the coefficient, which gives us 12. And then I apply my square root. That's how you get rid of a second power. So x could be positive or negative anytime I square root. Now is 12 on the board? I don't think it is. So you make 2 square roots. 12 divided by 9 doesn't work. 12 divided by 4, 4 and 3. So, okay. So you got 2 square root 3. Okay, you don't do I because the 12 that I put the square root over wasn't negative. The I only comes in when that's a negative. We didn't have that, so it's 2 square root of 3, 2 square root of 3, negative. Okay. Next problem. X to the second minus 14x plus 24 equals 0. A, B, C. Okay, A, B, C. We make sure we're equal to 0. We're there. Okay. Now we apply the discriminant. There's 3 possible outcomes. Getting a whole number from that, getting a rational decimal from that, or getting a negative inside of that where I'd have to bring in the I. So what's going to happen? So B squared minus 4AC. So B, negative 14. And then A is 1, C is 24. Negative 14 times itself. Don't rely on the caret key. Take negative 14 times negative 14. It's 196. And then 4 times 1 times 24 gives me a product of 96. And that would be the square root of 100. Square root of 100 on your calculator. Oh, it's a whole number. Okay. When you get a whole number, you don't even have to write it. Okay. You just write whole. So I want that equation factored. Okay. GCF T. It's a trinomial. I call that the trinomial T-chart because there's 3 terms. GCF I don't think's worth it. 1, 14, 24 is 1. The last term does not contain x, so out. 1 times 24 is 24. It's a positive, so the signs have to be matching, either as negatives or as positives. Well, since we're trying to add to the B, the negative 14, they both have to be negative. Okay, 1 and 24 ain't it. 2 and 12, bam, that adds to negative 14. Now your A is 1x to the second power. Okay. Now, since the A is a 1, we can discard the 1, but that has to be x times x, 2 parentheses. I want to see the parentheses. Don't be just taking the numbers from the chart and reversing their signs. Knock that off, because you get burned on the next one. Some of you did. Minus 2, minus 12. So that will multiply to this, F1, F2. So x minus 2 could equal 0, x minus 12 could equal 0. So you add 2, and you get 2. You add 12, and you get 12. 2 and 12. Okay, 3x to the second power minus 10x minus 8 equals 0. Another ABC. Well, we know how we start it. You make sure you're equal to 0. The equation is, and then you apply your discriminant over again. So B, negative 10. A is 3. C is negative 8. Negative 10 times itself is 100. 4 times 3 times negative 8 is going to be negative 96. Plus, and that's the square root of 196. Is that going to be whole? Is it going to be irrational? Or is it going to be a negative where I can't square root it? It's whole. Just write whole down. That means you're going back to factoring. Trying to put that into the 2 parentheses. GCF you always need to take a look at though. It'd just be 1. C doesn't have an X, so can't do it. 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. So since that's a negative product, the signs have to be one of each, a positive and a negative. That's how you multiply to a negative. You're trying to add to negative 10. 124 ain't it. 2 and 12. Boom. Remember, if that would have been positive 10, I would have just switched the signs around. Okay, but they have to add to that exact number. Okay, this time a is 3x squared. This is why you can't just say the answer is negative 2 and positive 12. Okay, you have to deal with the 3. X to the second is still going to be x times x. Well, when I have that non-1 there to deal with that and factor it correctly, I make 2 lines of parentheses. It's called the Berry method. So I put 3, 3, then x and x don't, and then plus 2 minus 12. 3 and 2 would just stay the same because they're only in the first row on the chart. 3 and 12 can be divided by 3. Okay, and that's 1x or x minus 4. So F1, F2. That's the factoring for that. Now you solve it. 3x plus 2 equals 0. 1x minus 4 equals 0. So I have minus 2. Then we divide by 3, and that's negative 2/3. Then you add the 4. You don't need to divide by 1, it's just 4. I mean, you can, but it's not really worth it. Okay, number 12. 3x to the second power minus 8x equals 9. That's A, that's B, that's C. Okay, ABCs, you have to have it equal to 0. That's how I want it done. Minus 9, that's your C. Equals 0. Now you go apply your discriminant. So B, negative 8. A is 3. C is negative 9. Negative 8 times negative 8 is 64. 4 times 3 times negative 9 is negative 108. Now it will go to a plus plus. So that's 172. What is the square root of 172? Okay, it's not a whole number, it's an irrational decimal. Okay, when we get an irrational decimal, we want to write it. Okay, we don't need to do I on that either. Okay, but I'm not going to be able to factor it. It has to be the quadratic formula. So, opposite of b plus or minus d square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. So you're going to have 8. I think I know what my square root is. It's approximately 13.11. Then 2a, 2 times 3, that's 6. Then you add, hit equals, then divide by 6, 3.52. Then you subtract, hit equals, divide by 6, negative 0.85. Those are your solutions. Okay, 2 times the quantity x plus 4 to the second, a parentheses means quantity, equals 50. Okay, now it's still a quadratic, but it ain't an ABC, it's an AHK. Now we just graphed them. How do we solve for the x inside? AHK, replace parentheses with h to the second and make a table. And on that table, you fill in on each side with x plus 4. Now, replace that whole thing with h to the second, okay? So you got 2h to the second equals 50. Now you're going to solve for h using square roots. You have to divide by the coefficient first. Divide by 2. H to the second equals 25. You can square root. That's a perfect square. It's up on the board. Don't do the 2 square roots. It's 5, okay? It could be 5 or negative 5. Now, this is the quadratic's value, so we now know what the values go on the table. So the quadratic's value could be 5 or negative 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. Negative 5 minus 4 is negative 9. Okay, now these dandies. We struggled on these. I set a lot of stuff up for you. Write an equation for the graph. You need to come up with the value for A, the H, and the K, and then line it up. Find the A first. That's the hardest part, okay? Solve for A. So on A, I lined up the equation. Every letter needs to be replaced except for the A. So we need to take this graph here. This is my quadratic function, okay? And we need two coordinates. One coordinate is my HK, the other is my XY. The HK has to be here, okay? Has to be here. So that's forward 4 and up 5. There's my HK value. HK has to be there. Now the XY, we'll pick this or this. It doesn't matter. We'll get the same outcome in the end either way. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 8. Now, replace Y with the given value, 8. A is not replaced. That's what I'm trying to figure out. X, that would be 5, minus H, that would be 4, raised to the second power, plus K, that would be 5. So you have 8, and then the 5 right there. Now, what's A multiplied by? So 8. And then the plus 5. You need to figure out what this quantity squared is. It's 5 minus 4 to the second. I don't care if you punch it on a calculator. You can do it by hand over here. It's 1 times itself, which is 1. So 1 is the A multiplier. Then I can solve for A easily. Minus 5, 3 equals 1 times A. You can divide by 1 or just get rid of it. But 3 is your A. HK is easy. I already have HK. I just put a 4 in place of the H and a 5 in place of the K. And there we have it. Now line it up so it looks pretty. 3x minus 4 to the second plus 5. There it is, quadratic function. That's the equation for the graph. Okay, because that was so much fun, I'm going to do a second one for practice. Equation for the graph, okay? So let's try this again. Find the A first. So you need values for this, 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 and this in order to find what A is. So HK and then XY. HK is the vertex. That's back 3, so negative 3. And H, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, positive 5. Now we'll use this. So I'm at 0 on the X, okay? And then 1, 2, 3 for the Y, okay? So negative 3, 5, and this is 0, 3. Okay, Y, you're going to put 3 in. A times X minus H, so 0, yes, you are going to put 0 in there, minus, it starts as a minus, negative 3. To the second, you can't forget the second, and then the K is 5. So we know we have 3. We know we have 5 being added, but we need to figure out what that A is times by. You can make that plus plus, might be a smart idea. So 0 plus 3 to the second, that's going to be 3 to the second, and 3 to the second's 9. Put your 9 there and solve for A. A is over here, so you minus 5. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. 9 times A. Then we divide by the coefficient 9. Now that's a decimal. I'm going to keep it as negative 2/9. HK. So H is negative 3. And K is 5. So Y equals negative 2/9. Parentheses X minus negative 3. We should probably make that plus plus, like when it's minus negative. To the second power plus 5. There you go. Or you can just put 1 plus, but it is canceled. Okay, story problems. A football is punted into the air from a height of 5 feet above the ground with an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. Find the football's maximum height. A maximum, we make a big parabola in the middle. No boxes, no tables, nothing. Okay, maybe a table if I don't know how to write the equation. Okay, you don't need to put x, y, just make a coordinate point. Okay. Now to find the independent coordinate is like exactly what it says, opposite of b divided by 2 times a. Now you need the equation. This is gravity. So I'm ready to line up my ABC from the get-go. Okay, so gravity goes here. The gravity number is not in the problem. You have to know it's negative 16. This is my velocity. That's the feet per second. And that's going to be 40. This is my starting height, start, and that's going to be 5. So now we have our A and B. Opposite of B, negative 40, and then 2 times negative 16, negative 32. Then I divide and I get 1.25. That's seconds. That's the time it took to get to the max height. Now we have to find the other value simply by putting 1.25 into the equation for x. Then you plug that into the calculator. It ends up as 30. And that's your maximum height. That's the seconds, that's the time, because feet's dependent upon the time. 30 feet. Okay, 15b. A football is punted into the air from a height of 5 feet from the ground with an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. Find how high the football is after 1 second. Now, if you're not finding the maximum, you probably better use your boxes to come up with what you're going to do, what the equation is. So the 2 units you should know, it's feet and seconds. They're right there. X is time, X is time, X is time, X is time. Y would be the feet. Then the feet per second we know is 40. So 40 times x. We don't make a table because it's not a linear equation. A football goes up, comes down. Now, you don't need to care about this. You just put your start. Your start's at 5 feet. Okay, now time to write the equation. Same way you wrote it on the last problem to start with. You're just finding something different from the equation. So gravity, negative 16. Velocity, 40. I mean, it's 40 times x, so it's right there. The constant's your starting height. Now, what are we finding? We want to find 1 second, the feet that go with 1 second. Seconds is x. Good, I love it when they're x's. So negative 16, parentheses 1 to the second, plus 40, parentheses 1, plus 5 equals y. You already got y by itself. You just plug in the formula. Okay, it's 29, by the way. So 29. So not much lower than the maximum. Okay, 15c. A football is punted into the air from a height of 5 feet above the ground with an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. Calculate the times when the football is 10 feet above the ground. You're not finding the maximum. I would personally set up the tables and what's happening. It tells a story. Feet, seconds. X is seconds, y is feet. So per. Feet per second. Feet per second is 40, 40 times x, okay? Just mark the starting height. It's still 5 feet, so it's the same darn equation. So gravity, negative 16. Feet per second, the velocity is 40 plus 5 equals y. But now the game changes because we have to find the seconds where it's 10 feet. So 10 feet goes into the equation. Feet is y. Oh, I don't like these when they're y. Okay, a little bit harder. So 10 goes in for y. Okay, we have to solve for x. What do we know about x? Well, it's to the second power, so there's 2 answers for it. and it's a quadratic, so we probably need to do A, B, C. There's another C. And we know that those, from the previous page, we have to get those equal to 0. So you take that away, and we have negative 16x squared is A, 40x is B, negative 5 is C, equals 0. Now take your discriminant. So B is 40, A, negative 16, C, negative 5. 40 times 40 is 1,600. 4 times negative 16 times negative 5 is going to be 320, and I subtract, I get 1,280. Square root that. That's an irrational decimal, so I don't need a factor. I can go to the quadratic formula. Round it, and then you just opposite of B, opposite of B. So it'd be negative 40. Plus or minus the square root. I have the square root value, 35.78. And then 2 times negative 16, 2 times A. It's negative 32. I didn't write the formula this time. I figured you could handle it. Remember to hit equals 0.13. So that goes over here. It's a positive. And then I take negative 40 and subtract 35.78. Divide by negative 32, 2.37. Both of them are positive, which makes sense because it's 10 feet on the way up and on the way down. It starts at 5 feet. Okay, last problem in this packet. A surfboard shop charges $500 for a surfboard. They're selling 45 surfboards in a month. They want to increase the price by $20 for each surfboard because they feel they will sell 5 more surfboards each month. How many times should the shop change the price to maximize their revenue? What will the maximum revenue be? Now you're back to a maximum. Okay. So this point here, opposite of B divided by 2 times A. And to find the Y, we just need to have an equation to put that value in for. This isn't gravity oil, it's revenue. Revenue equals 2 quantities multiplied together. It's the dollars times the number of items. Some of you had problems with this, so with the dollars, I'm going to make a table, one for dollars, one for items. Let's just talk about the dollars. The dollars start at 500. Then you start decreasing the price by 20. These are the dollars amounts. That's what we're dealing with for dollars, okay? Now, decreasing it by 20 would be minus 20, 480. Minus 20, 460. Do it again, 440. Just do it till there's 4. You don't know when that stops. It goes on forever. So that's why the money, it's 500 minus 20x, because I don't know how many times we subtract 20. The dollars have to go together. X is on the change. Okay, then the items. Surfboards, well, we started at 45. And then if we're minusing, every time we minus 20 here, we add 5 here. Okay, if we're minusing here, we add here. So it's 50. Plus 5, 55. Plus 5, 60. So it's 45, no variable, plus 5x. Okay? You have to have a minus and a plus. Now, we don't have a B and an A. We have to do the FOIL method. Okay? So, I take 500 times 45. Then I take 500 times 5x. Then I take negative 20x times 45. Then I take negative 20x times 5x. Okay, 500 times 45 is going to give me, 500 times 45, 22,500. Then that's 2,500x. It's going to be negative 900x. And negative 100x to the second, okay? Now you have your A, B, and C lined up and ready to go, okay? So if you have to start with parentheses, it has to be multiplied out, unlike the gravity when it's there for you. Negative 100, there's my A. I combine the x's, that's 1,600, that's my B. And then C, 22,500. If you don't know what goes in the parentheses, make a table, okay? So negative 1600 is the opposite of b, then 2 times negative 100, and that's negative 200. You divide, you get 8. That's how many times, that's how many price changes you made. So 8 price changes. You don't have to even label that, but that's what it means. To find the actual revenue amount, okay, you need to replace 8 for the x's. So negative 100 times 8 to the second plus 1600 times 8 plus 22,500. 28,900, okay? And that's your maximum revenue. You would have 8 rows of that, 29,800. I don't care if you make the table, but you got to know how to line up your stuff, okay?